So having some wind out here today. I have been thinking about what to do about my front frame rail here, where the bumper support or bracket attachments are, and it's kind of a mess. The more I look at it, the more mess I see it is. They apparently decided they were going to weld some galvanized sheet metal here, so I may have to do something on the underside as well. Clearly, the main rail is an issue. So once I get this cut out, I can kind of see what's going on inside and cut this off from below. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some surgery to figure out what's going on. I already made a template of this section from the front to about, maybe back about where the brake line comes through the panel here. So that I have a template ready to go on some 14 gauge for this. It looks like they tried to weld the bracket on, bumper bracket on, after of course the bolts that are welded to the backside have been long gone. Yeah, it looks like they tried to tack weld. They got some sloppy booger welds all over this thing. They tried to weld that on, apparently it didn't work. Yeah, in fact, the other side, this bracket's still on. It's incredibly bent. I tried this the other day with the old come along on the hitch of the truck. So this one is currently welded on the backside. So apparently there's only one of the nuts inside the frame rail that's still present. So I've got to take this one off, cut that off, and see what's going on behind here as well. So here's my paper template. Trace that onto my 14 gauge sheet here. So time to cut that out. This is actually working here, so. Yeah, I think that'll work. That'll do. So I laid it up in here to see where that transition to this bend happens, since that curves out this way down there. Yeah, this may be a hammer situation again, like I just did. I've got the flat transition lined up here on this corner. I've got the overhang enough so that I just need to bend this whole section down a smidge. I actually had it clamped on the other side, flipped over, which would have put the bend the wrong way. Thankfully, I caught that. So I'm just going to try to tap this and see if I can make it do what I want it to do. It's not bad. I mean, there's that transition there. So honestly, I think once I get all this out of here, I mean, I think that's going to work okay. All right, so the first thing I've done is took my angle grinder and grind and locate the spot welds. So now I'm going to go through the spot weld cutter, cut those out. I did cut some of these booger welds off down here so I could roll this up in here a little more accurately and get a decent mark here at the end where I will cut and remove. And then, all right, so now I've gone through, center punched each of the locations and then hit them with a drill bit a little bit so I can put the old cutter bit in and hopefully pull them out. Had a little bit of a snafu on this one here. So I must have been a little too aggressive. Was forcing this in a little too quickly. It spun out. I cracked the teeth off. Had to take my bit, because this actually comes off. It's threaded onto this shaft. I had to take that off, spin it around, so I got fresh teeth here. It actually bent the tip here, which is spring loaded. So I'll show you a couple of how this works. Hopefully I'll just slow down a little bit and take it easy. Once I get a decent cut started, then I can push a little harder. But I was having some issues. Plugging away, get all these done, and then get my cold chisel in here and see if I can't get that moving. Actually, I'm going to try that here just to see if I'm gone deep enough. All right, well, I think that'll do it. I got to keep going. All right, I'm hoping that I've got them all cut deep enough, because I just boogered this one up too. So now I'm going to have to grab a new one. Well, I've made some additional discoveries. Apparently this bottom of this frame rail that extends up, the inside is gone all the way back to here, which is where the strut bracket, I should say, where the strut rod mounts, that bracket, which is welded to this frame rail under and on the inside. I've got a little more of an extensive repair than I was hoping, of course. Now, the front lower cross member here, that's intact. The inside, like I said, back to here, not good. Back to the bracket, bad. So I'm going to have to cut all of this out. On the inside here, they had completely body worked and painted over a piece of flashing, basically, covering up the inside of the frame rail. Are you kidding me? So I'm going to have to do some serious work here. Well. This has a place to live, so that's good. And I did make some marks on the back side of where that needs to be cut off. Down here around this little lip here. There's even some rot right there. I'm not sure. I may just, oh boy. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Well, how deep do I want to go is the question. Maybe I can just throw a little something in there. Maybe not. I don't know. We could just pretend I didn't see it. Time to make a paper template. It's going to be a bend right there. Well, it's taken a minute, but and by a minute I mean probably an hour's worth of grinding, checking, grinding, checking, grinding, checking, grinding, checking, bending, hammering, grinding, checking. So an hour's worth of that to get to this point. And it is not by any means perfect. Got a big old fat gap there. I'll fill that with weld. Yeah, it's just, we're just getting it close. Inside seam will be, so I'll weld to the corner. The top plate is still nice and thick and strong, so that should be plenty to weld to. And of course, we've got the bracket there that angled support for the core support. Oh, my camera works terrible. Anyway, that'll be the inside. And I don't know if I'm going to do anything with that hole. I probably should do something with that hole. I don't know. Can of worms. That's what we got here. Time to start welding. All right, well, don't look at my welding, but that is in and ready to go. Now I have to get this trimmed up, fit up, and ready to rock. I did weld all along that area there, ground most of it down, and got it up down the side there. Oh, again, I'm a professional welder, but it'll do. So now I gotta get some. I'm gonna get some paint sprayed up in here. So after far too long, finally got this ready to go. Okay, so I'm back now. It's been over a week. I got so fed up with my welder that I've had for 25 years. It's an old Century 121 or 125 model that I think I literally had for 25 years. Yeah, I was beginning to think it was just me. So my spots here, terrible, just terrible. I had to try to cut as much off as I could because I just wasn't getting any penetration whatsoever. It was just boogering up everywhere. Just it would not maintain any kind of an arc. So I actually cut a V out of this one. It was so bad. So I'm going to go ahead and spot that pretty heavily there. Got to weld down this whole seam. These, by the time I ended up getting some of these spots in, I had shifted this panel too high. So now I've got a bit of a gap between those two. So I'm trying to pinch that together as best I can. So we'll see. Also had a little steel in my eye because I wasn't wearing goggles, doing a safety squint with my regular glasses on. Didn't work, and so yeah, I've had to go to the eye doctor, and he had to grind out some rust. I'd had some steel in there for a couple days. Not good. So yeah. Anyway, finally back on it now, and hopefully going to be able to vice grip these together to get some decent spots down in the bottom, clean this stuff up, get that welded in, and hopefully button this repair up. I hope. So we'll see. A little windy today. I'm hoping that won't screw me up too badly. I got so fed up with I got this cheap Art Captain welder, and just from a couple preliminary welds last night, far better than that old Century 125. So we'll see. Okay. Well, hoping chamfering those holes and widening them out a little bit will at least get me able to get some penetration into the lower before I start burning in the upper. Why does it seem like the gas is still not on? Because it was too low. What a freaking mess. Why am I not getting gas? Let's try this one. Maybe. Wow. It actually works. Get out of town. Like, that was actually decent. But too bad I went to the wrong one. One that wasn't clamped tightly, but I guess it'll do. Well, let's see if I can get another. The one I was supposed to weld. Yeah, I think that might actually work. Might just work. Wish I had the gas running there. Oh, let's get, oh, there we go. Again, I'm not a perfect welder, but those are a little better than that. Now that I didn't have the gas on yet, so yeah, this is welding much better and hotter, so much happier with this. Let me button this up and then hopefully move on. Well, it still ain't pretty, but it's far better than it was. I went ahead and hit some sections in the bend because I scored that to make that bend. So I wanted to make sure I reinforced that. I'll cut these off flush and try to grind down all this booger mess here. Went ahead and welded some along the top edge just because these spots were so bad that I don't know how much bite I've gotten on any of that. So I got this ground down and was just about ready to start spraying some primer and paint. And then I thought I better fix that hole in the front. So I cut out a little piece, threw it in there. I'm gonna weld that in real quick. Then I'll go ahead and prime and paint and hopefully wrap this up. Not sure what you'll be able to see here, but I'll think I'm gonna have to turn down the heat a little bit. It's burning holes everywhere. Lord have mercy. Swiss cheese I'm welding here. Turn the heat down a little more. That's a little better. While I'm waiting on the paint, primer and paint to dry, I'm gonna have a mess in here. Apparently, it appears that they decided to just throw some, I don't know, probably more caulk and over this, which is connecting my inner fender to the frame rail here, and that appears to be gone. So I probably shouldn't be doing any of this spraying out there because it looks like I may have to rip all this out and put a piece of metal in here. I mean, this looks like it might be all Bondo down here. So now this piece, again, looks like it's intact. So I may just be able to weld to the back side of this from here down to there. Replace a little panel in there. So looks like that might be next. Can of worms. Can of worms. So I've made, well, I cut out all the old, cleaned it up best I could. I did not make a paper template, should have. Took me too long to do that, so got that fitting well enough. I'm gonna slap that sucker in there, and hopefully that will reattach my inner fender to the front frame rail. Well, I got the little section made and fitted and welded in. It's not pretty, but it is now inner fender firmly reattached to the upper part of the frame rail. Even as bad as some of this looks, I have not been able to dot my way across. Of course, I burned through a few places. I had it really, really hot. That other welder, also uncovered a bunch of Bondo here in the shock tower. Shocking. So anyway, I've been pretty happy with how this Art Captain has actually run. It even has enough heat, unlike my other one, to really burn through nicely on the backside. So plenty of good penetration on that, which I was not getting out of that old Century 125. Now I got to get the rest of this primered, slap some paint on it, and hopefully forget about it. Okay, so it's finally finished. Got the outer welded up, got the front welded up, sprayed a little paint on it. Got the inside all welded up, sprayed a little paint, and finally I'm calling this section done. So thanks for coming along for the ride, and there will be more, I'm sure.